So the cars begin to roll away for the first of our GT3 Challenge races for 2026. This the first of 8 meetings, 16 races in total in the series. So 57 Aaron McGrath ends from pole position alongside 38 Freddie Holden with the first of the legacy cars. 46 Connor Knight and 77 Josh Beattie make up the second row of the grid, with row 3 being 139 Ellie Douglas and 53 Gavin Dresser. 7th on the grid, all the 7s, number 7 Tom Drawbridge-Davis alongside 42 Tom Knight, and that's row 4 on the grid. Row 5, 83 Ben Singleton and the 72 of Thomas Kalita, with row 6 just being one car on its own, which is 862 Reece Checkley with the Ferrari 488, which is one of the 3 legacy cars. So the grid is made up 11 cars out there. We have 3 cars on the grid which are the legacy cars, which are the older GT3 machinery that doesn't comply to current regulations, but we have allowed them in for a little bit of variation in the grid. So you can see we've got a Z4 out there along with the 488 Ferrari, and the front row starting Mercedes is the older AMG GT3 that has ended up on the outside of the front row after a jumped up qualifying session, so the lap times completely end up going out the window due to a fault with the system. Anyway, light goes out and away we go for 15 minutes of GT action here on the Snetterton 200 circuit as they run towards Ritchie's for the first time. Aaron McGrath gets the jump in the BMW M4 at the front of the grid. The M4's certainly the car to have, I would say, today. They've been the ones setting the quickest times in the practice sessions over the course of the build-up to this event. Out wider, he's gone 139 Douglas with the Z4, allowing 727 Beattie in the Porsche through on the outside as they went through Chapman onto the back straight at Bentley. There's no Bentleys in this race because iRacing got the rights to have the Bentley GT3 in the simulator as of this point, which is a big shame because the Continental is a very potent GT3 car indeed. Meantime, Tom Drawbridge-Davis, number 7, got around the outside of 139 Douglas to take what will be, I think, 5th place away, entering Brundle at the end of the Bentley straight. We've got Gavin Dresser there in 53 in the next of the BMW M4 GT3 cars. The BMW M4's a very competent car, it would first seem, but they come round to complete the first lap into Maurice for the first time. A tight 90-degree left-hander which takes you back onto the start-finish straight of Senna here at Snetterton, and they complete the first lap with McGrath leading in 57. Then we've got the BWT Mercedes that ran in the DTM series running behind that in second place. Then we find number 46 Connor Knight, who's a bit of a circuit racing specialist. Out wide has gone McGrath in 57 at Ritchie's. So the leader goes out wide, allowing Freddie Holden through to take the lead in what will be the Mercedes. All contact behind, and Connor Knight is turfed out of third place rather unceremoniously by the charging 727 Josh Beattie in the first of the Porsches. Meantime, behind them, the Z4 of Ellie Douglas 139 is going alongside number 7 Tom Drawbridge in the Aston Martin. The Aston has to try and squeeze through the middle. That gap wasn't there, I'm afraid, and the Welshman has to back out of it, but maybe not through the middle of all of them, and they've all gone sailing out wide. 139 Douglas taken off by a very optimistic Aston Martin in the hands of Tom Drawbridge-Davis, who went for a move that was never really going to work, to be honest. Going 3 wide through Brundle doesn't normally end well, and as far as crashes at Brundle go, that was fairly minor with just 2 cars skating out wide. Connor Knight will be very pleased about that though in 46, with the 2 nearest rivals to him, the Aston Martin and the Z4, both getting sent into the runoff area and visiting some of the Norfolk countryside. It must be said that Ellie Douglas 139 is coming back, as in the back of the shot we can see the 2 Ferraris having their rear set to the 488, currently ahead of the newer 296, Reece Checkley getting the best of a Singleton. The positions didn't change around that time. Tom Drawbridge, number 7, managed to hold off Ellie Douglas when they went round Ritchie's that time. So Z4 holding its own, got a spinner, and Connor Knight is going 46 along with Aaron McGrath in 57. So the 2 quickest cars here today have both spun at the same point coming out of Chapman. A very difficult corner coming straight out of a hairpin into a tight 90-degree left-hander. We're 3 minutes into the race already with lots of dramas befalling several of the quicker runners. 38 Freddie Holden, though, will currently lead the way with the older Mercedes AMG GT, and out wide has gone the Porsche driven by Josh Beattie, number 727, so that one's not had the best of days. And round goes 53 Gavin Dresser, so the M4 exit stage right on the exit of the bomb hole heading towards Coram. So that car has befell its end on the short chute between the 2 of them. In the meantime, BT is harassing the back of Kalita, so 727 on 72 as they make their way down the centre straight towards Ritchie's once again, and 727 BT goes sailing through on the inside and takes the place away. 72 Kalita runs wide, as does 139 Douglas in the back of shot 42. Tom Knighton is on the inside of number 7 Tom Drawbridge Davis as they head to the hairpin, and straight on will go the Z4, so out wide goes Ellie Douglas 139. Didn't get the braking point at all right on the entrance to the Wilson hairpin, which will give her a compromised run ultimately down the Bentley straight, as 42 Tom Knighton is coming on the inside of number 7 Tom Drawbridge Davis as they go to the left-hander at Brundle. Under the bridge they go. They're still side by side. Are they going to survive it? The Aston stays ahead. The Merc couldn't find a way through. He's trying again. Is Tom Knighton still can't find a path round that very large Aston Martin, one would seem. Behind them now is Thomas Kalita, number 72 in the BMW M4, one of many of those here today. I might say the most numerous car here. Most drivers with a German mark, whether it be a BMW, Mercedes or Porsche. We have got a couple of Ferraris out there. The 488 and the 296 are with us, and they very well may be the only cars not made in Germany, bar the Aston Martin, which is the other one that would be out there. So 3 non-German marks. As down the inside of the older BMW will come 46 Connor Knight with a great dive at the Wilson hairpin to get past 139 Ellie Douglas in the much older BMW Z4, a car that we don't see in GT3 racing anymore. It's somewhat been retired from service by the BMW teams. Ahead of them we can see the Aston Martin Evo. A very, very meanful looking bit of kit is the Aston Martin. And I must say, one of the best looking GT3 cars I have seen for quite some time. So 46 of Knight is weaving about in the mirrors of 72 Kalita, trying to find a way past, and has done on the inside of Coram. Not often we see a move made at Coram, but through goes Connor Knight to take what was a very, very good position away from Thomas Kalita. That was great stuff there as they came through, but they both run wide on the exit of Murray's, which leaves the door open for 72 Kalita to come fighting back for some more. 139 Douglas having a watching brief as well in the back of shot, which could be a lively one should she catch this battle. There's some door banging, some touring car tactics have taken place at turn 1. Kalita fired out wide, and that's really going to hamper him on the run towards Wilson. And hamper him it has, as through goes 139 Douglas, who got some tyre smoke on the entrance to Chapman. Someone's locked up on the run between the hairpin and the tight left-hander. And all big moment for 72 Kalita, gets it all wrong. Got a wheel on the grass, leaving the left-hander at Chapman. Through as a result goes 139 Douglas once again. We've got a replay coming through now of a tangle between Connor Knight and Josh Beattie earlier on. And you have to say that Beattie was given very little room on the inside there. We've got another car spun ahead of them, which was McGrath in 57, which we'll try and get a replay of later on. But yes, a little bit of elbows out there. Connor Knight turned in for the corner. I don't think he expected the Porsche to be there, and as a result they somewhat met in the middle, and that was the end of the story for them. Connor Knight didn't survive it very well, but has recovered quite nicely. 72 Kalita is still having a rare set to 139 Douglas. The Z4, a very competent car, it must be said, and has been doing very well. Got a car in the pit lane, which is 53 Gavin Dresser, minus a rear wing. Of course, he had that off at Coram earlier on in the race, which obviously has somewhat hampered his running in this race. So we are looking currently at the battle between cars 72 and 139. This is the battle for 6th position. They've got the Ferrari of 83 Ben Singleton behind them, the 296, the newer of the two Ferraris here today. There's 139 in the Deutsche Post car. Ellie Douglas makes her way back through past Kalita in 72. So they're really chopping and changing, which puts Ellie back to 6th position. The top 5 have run clear now. 83 Singleton had a look on the inside of Brundle on 72 Kalita, couldn't find a way through. We've got another replay incoming. This, I believe, will solve the mystery of McGrath. Yep, gets a wheel on the inside curb, leaving the left-hander at Chapman, and that just rotates the BMW around, and all he can do is just sit there and watch the field come through, and also watch 46 Connor Knight rejoins. The two cars that spun more or less in tandem there, both managing to spectate each other's rejoins. So 139 Douglas has bridged a gap in the battle for 6th place over 72 Kalita. Ferrari is there as well, and this is the joy of GT3 racing. We have 3 cars racing together here, all with a very different approach to the same problem. The two BMWs are front-engine machinery, whereas the Ferrari is mid/rear-engined. The Z4, much older car, as we said earlier on, side by side though with its younger brother, the M4, and the M4 of Kalita can't find a way through and has to back out. They're showing 3 wide now down the Bentley straight, where the horsepower rings completely true of these GT3 cars. And into the left-hander at Brundle they go. Side by side once again, Douglas has to go wide, and Kalita's got even wider on the outside of Nelson. They're going to bang door panels as they come towards the bomb hole, where the track dips down quite a lot on the inside line, allowing for some rather interesting manoeuvres to be made, and that is the case being proven. 72 Kalita manages to get back down the inside at Coram and takes back over from the Z4. So, although very competitive, things getting very lively. 72 Kalita now runs wide, leaving Murray's, which opens up to another attack from 139 Douglas, who just will not go down without a fight in that Z4. The Ferrari behind, Singleton just watching, waiting for these two to possibly trip over each other. They haven't yet. There's been some very good racing so far, very respectful as well, barring a bit of contact earlier on between Beattie and Knight, which we saw in 727 and 46. Down the inside at the Wilson hairpin goes Kalita in 72 and takes straight back over the 6th place in 139 Douglas. So a great scrap between these two in particular. The Ferrari has not quite got itself involved in the battle as much as it could have done yet, but it might do as the race unfolds. This has been fantastic stuff from these GT3 cars, and 139 Douglas gets it all wrong at Brundle, runs wide across the grass, and that is the Ferrari through, as 139 Douglas missed the braking point at the end of the Bentley straight, and there she blows. Oh, I've got another replay as we see the results of 53 Gavin Dresser's spin at Coram on lap number 4. He clouted the wall heavily on the inside, and that's what did the damage, as we have a replay from just a lap ago. Connor Knight slipstreaming his way past 42 Tom Knighton on the Bentley straight to take what I'm led to believe would be 4th place, and that was a great move on the inside of Brundle. Had the move done way before the bridge, and Tom Knight had no answer for the BMW. They got very squirrely leaving the corner, but that is a little bit irrelevant, as he got the move done and didn't have any further problems. So we come back to our favourite battle, it seems, as 72 Kalita has pulled away from 83 Singleton and 139 Douglas. Those two seem to be now fighting amongst themselves, which is allowing Thomas Kalita a bridge of a gap, but it may not last too long. The timer is clicking down, and the 72 car of Kalita has gone wide, got it wrong coming through Nelson, and he's going to go wrong again at the bomb hole, gets very broadside and almost wipes out the BMW Z4 in doing so. Ellie Douglas has to back out, unfortunately, to avoid the half-spun M4 in front of her. A big shame, as that had potential to be a good benefit to Ellie to get around the outside of that, whilst the BMW M4 of Kalita was trying to recompose itself. You can see McGrath 57 recovering from his spin. Uncharacteristic spin, it must be said, for Aaron, and he's dropped a long way back and he's on the comeback drive. Whether he can do anything in the final 2 3/4 minutes is a different question. Bit of dust kicked up at the exit of Ritchie's, and down to the inside goes Kalita in 72 on the 83 Ferrari. The side by side as they go right, then they go left, they enter the back straight. The Ferrari very twitchy on the exit, so through goes 139 Douglas back up into, I'm reminded to say, 7th place. 72 Kalita now just towing the 139 of Douglas down the back straight into Brundle. Have to be very careful braking there. It's not the easiest of braking zones. That a very fast sweeping left-hander into a very tight big stop of the right-hander down at Nelson's. And speaking of which, this is the leader going off. So replay Freddie Holden doing exactly what I just said you shouldn't do. Got too much back brake on the car, going round the left-hander at Brundle, and the rear end decided to make friends with the front end, and that was the end of the story for the race leader, it would seem. Connor Knight is now your race leader after being turfed out twice early on in the race. He got taken out twice down at Chapman. which leaves us with just a minute and a half of the race to go. He's all chopped and changed at the front. 139 Douglas goes onto the grass, leaving Ritchie's. Allowing 83 Singleton back through in the Ferrari on the inside. The 296 making its way through. I would say probably the most low slung of the GT3 cars at the moment. And there's now side by side 139 Douglas going round the outside as it would be when they get to Nelson, but they've got left-hander of Brundle before that, and comes in across the front of the Ferrari, and they very nearly come to blows. Thankfully everything works out okay between the two of them. 139 Douglas with a rather daring move back to the right, going into the left-hander at Brundle, but got away with it just about. There was just enough room for a BMW Z4 to squeeze in, which allows Ellie Douglas in 139 the chance to run away from the Ferrari and catch back up to her fellow BMW pilot, Thomas Kalita, number 72. You can certainly tell the age of the BMW Z4 with it still running the old Blancpain stickers across the top of the windscreen. Blancpain is a long since dead name in motor racing. It's been very much replaced by the GT World Challenge, promoted by SRO, and Blancpain was the equivalent of that in the 2010s, which all started with a 24-hour race at Spa, and then it became a full-on Blancpain Endurance Series. Meantime, Kalita in 72 is exited stage left and spins around on the back straight, got it all wrong coming out of Chapman and end up spinning away to the left of the Bentley straight. Meantime, we head to our race leader, which is 46 Connor Knight, coming out of Murray's for the final time. The shake flags out already, headlights go flashing on as you would expect. Connor Knight wins our first race of the GT3 Challenge. Second place will be Freddie Holden in the Mercedes. We now look back to this scrap we've been focusing on for the best part of half of the race. The Ferrari has pulled away from the BMW that went spinning, so 57 McGrath has gained a position at the dying embers of that after Kalita exited stage left on the Bentley straight. But Ellie Douglas will come home second in the Legacy class. I believe that'll be 6th place overall, but that'll be checked, of course, when we get the results from race control. They will now head to their rundown lap and get ready for race 2 later on. In the meantime, we'll look further back in the order as we now look at Reece Checkley in the Ferrari 488 being chased down by 53 Gavin Dresser, who is 2 laps down after dramas earlier, and you saw him go off at Coram and end up in the pit lane. So he's a couple of laps down and will follow the Ferrari home further back in the order, but that matters very little for positions. So the winner was Connor Knight, number 46 in the BMW M4 GT3. Second place, Freddie Holden, the Mercedes. He was the winner of the Legacy class from Tom Drawbridge's Aston Martin in third. The next to the Mercedes AMG's is 4th place, which is Tom Knight in the newer 2020 spec car. First to the Porsches home, the only Porsche in that race was Josh Beattie in 5th place. 6th was the second of the Legacy cars home, Ellie Douglas with the Z4. Then the Ferrari Challenge was headed home by Ben Singleton in the 296, running 7th. Then his M4's galore for 8th and 9th place. Aaron McGrath heading home, Thomas Kalita. The final of the Legacy cars finishes in 10th place, which is the Ferrari 488 in the hands of Reece Checkley, who had a very good GT3 debut, it must be said. And then Gavin Dresser in 53, the BMW M4 that was the final of those to come home in 11th, had a bit of a dire race, as you can see, only completing 12 of the 13 laps after spending a lap in the pit lane when the car entered the barrier at Coram early on. But that rounds out the coverage of the first meeting of the season. The second race will not be covered, and the next time you will see the GT3 machinery will be on the 11th of May on the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch. So until Brands Hatch in 3 weeks' time, thank you all very much for your support, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.